Can demons read your mind? Can Christians be demon possessed? Today we're talking with Dr. Michael Heiser about his book Demons. How do we theologically understand demons and put them together? Do you have time if I just throw out there and get like the tweet responses to the most common questions people ask? And I know it's painful because it's got to be fast, but I would love to know. These are the questions that people ask me all the time. Are demons fallen angels?
No, it's yes and no. The terminology is wrong because angel is just a job description. They are fallen supernatural beings. In a sense, they're actually second generation.
Okay.
Principalities and powers, that's Paul's terminology for the third group, the Deuteronomy 32 Babel group. They are definitely fallen supernatural beings. They are out of the will of God.
Oh, good job. That was quick. And by the way, angels are functional. So that's why you see human beings operating as angels. Is that correct, or did I miss that?
It's angelos. It's a messenger. Okay. In the angels book, I have this question: Do believers become angels, like when we die? And the answer is no. But what happens is we become glorified, and we have certain of the attributes in glorification that they also have. And so this is another good example where Christian tradition has smashed those things together.
Gotcha. That's helpful. Can demons be redeemed, or Satan be redeemed?
I don't believe so. I think Hebrews 2 specifically addresses this, where basically God did what he did, the plan of salvation, specifically for humans. And the proof of that in Hebrews 2 is the incarnation. In other words, God became a man. He didn't become anything else. He became a man. And the focus of his redemptive plan is humanity, not any other created being.
If demons and Satan know that they're going to lose in the end, why do they keep fighting now?
Do they? It depends how you define victory.
Okay.
If you define victory as, we're going to kill God someday, no, they're not idiots. Okay, they know that. They're not morons. If you define victory a different way, then you do have a game plan. And here's what I mean by that. Paul linked specifically the return of the Lord and the day of the Lord with, quote, the fullness of the Gentiles. Again, Paul is informed by the Deuteronomy 32 worldview. This is why he uses terms like principalities, powers, rulers, thrones, dominions instead of demons, because these are all terms of geographical dominion. He knows who he's dealing with. His focus in his ministry, because he's dealing with the nations, is the third set of rebels, okay? And God says, okay, when I have extracted all of the people I want from the nations and bring them back into relationship to me, bring them back into my family, then the end will come, the day of the Lord, and the Lord will return. Well, if I'm a principality and a power, and I know this, by now I do, before the crucifixion and resurrection, I don't think they knew certain things based on what Paul says in 1 Corinthians 2. But if I know this now, it's like, okay, what I'm hearing is all we need to do is keep the church from performing the Great Commission. We just blind people under our charge, under our influence to the gospel. Check, got that. We get the church distracted or lazy so that this doesn't happen. Check. I'm good with that because we'll just kick this can down the road forever.
Wow.
God has linked the return of his son and the day of the Lord to these people. It's like that gives them a reason to continue. Because how do they define victory? We're still here. Yes, we don't have authority. Yes, our authority was stripped away. Paul writes this and that. Okay, we get it. But you know what? We're not giving up our turf. And we hate humans. We're not giving up on blinding them and robbing Yahweh of his children. That's why we're here. So we're going to kick this can down the road for a very long time. If you define victory like that, they're not doing too bad. They're really not doing too bad.
I think it was helpful you point out in the book that is their nature, and they act consistently with their nature and can't help it. that's what they are. That's what they do is a piece of it as well.
This is who they are.
Last question. This is helpful. Pine Creek says, if polytheism is defined as the belief that many gods exist, would Heiser be a polytheist under that definition?
No, because polytheism assumes an interchangeability and an equality of certain fundamental attributes that the biblical writers do not presume. So that's also what's wrong with henotheism. In henotheistic systems, they assume that the lead deity can be displaced at some point. It can be defeated, toppled by somebody else in the pantheon or whatever competition. The biblical writers aren't thinking that way at all. Again, Elohim, let's just back up a little bit. We are trained by our culture and by church. When we see the letters G, O, and D on a piece of paper or on a screen, we mentally, our brain assigns, and all these terms are important, our brain assigns a specific set of unique attributes to the letters G, O, and D. And so if you put an S on it, we can't have that because they're supposed to be unique attributes. That would be polytheism, okay? Well, the problem with that isn't how the biblical writers think about the word Elohim. How do we know? Because they use Elohim of 5 or 6 different things that are not the God of Israel. That alone tells you they are not assigning a specific set of unique attributes to the term Elohim. So to have a multiplicity of Elohim is nowhere near polytheism like we think of it. But in the West, in the modern West, and scholars are no different. I mean, I was bucking the trend in my dissertation, because this is essentially my dissertation stuff. We don't, there are very few exceptions. We don't stop to wonder, well, maybe we shouldn't just a priori assign a specific set of unique attributes to a certain term. Maybe we shouldn't do that, because the Hebrew Bible doesn't do that. Now, the theology that we have that Yahweh, the God of the Bible, is unique, that doesn't come from the term Elohim or any other specific term. What it comes from is that the biblical writers will say certain things about this Elohim that they won't say about any other, and they will in fact deny the things they say about this one Elohim to all the others. And here I am talking about attributes, omniscience, omnipotence, eternality. Those things are assigned to one Elohim of the bunch. Again, Elohim is just a generic term for a spiritual being. That's all it is.
Gotcha.
There are many Elohim, but only one of those Elohim is Yahweh. Yahweh is an Elohim, but no other Elohim is Yahweh. That is not polytheism.
Okay. So there's other beings with supernatural power from the divine realm, but not with the same attributes as God.
Correct.
So
and where we trip up is we think attributes are linked to terms, because that's how we do it in the modern West. God equals this set of specific unique attributes. Well, that's wonderful, because Elohim doesn't. So what instead of letting the biblical writer tell us what the term means, we impose what we think about the letters G, O, and D on that term. And that's where we mess up. That's where we read Psalm 82 and get freaked out when we don't need to, because we bring our modern concept to the text. We impose it. And that's the problem.
That's one of the things that was so helpful about your book, because you said even the Septuagint, the Greek translation of the Hebrew Old Testament, loses some of the nuances. And then into English, it loses the nuances. Not inaccurate, not misrepresenting, but not fully capturing some of the understandings of evil spirits in the demonic realm in the Old Testament. And that's why, look, those of you who are tracking with this conversation, enjoying this, I couldn't more highly recommend a book on this topic than Demons. It's thorough, it's honest, it's a scholarly book, but it's very understandable if you're willing to do the work. So if you're looking for a book that just says, hey, here's 20 questions on demons, one quick paragraph answer, this is not your book. If you're looking to say, okay, I want to go deeper, and I want to consider what actually the biblical worldview itself really teaches about demons, and I'm willing to go places that may not be comfortable, you are not going to find a better book. Now, the question of, are demons real? Where is the evidence? That's one we're going to look at in 3 weeks. Have Billy Halloway coming on. He has a new book coming out, takes a journalist approach to the existence of demons and asks, what's the proof? What's the evidence? Are these beings real? How do we know this? That's more of an apologetic question we're going to look at next time. For now, I really want to thank Dr. Heiser for coming on. I encourage you to pick up his book, Demons. I also has a book, Angels, and another book. Oh, the title is An Unseen Realm. Did I get that correct?
Yeah.
All three of these excellent, thoughtful, biblically focused books related to demons and the unseen realm. You rocked my world, I'm going to say, by reading this, honestly. I was sharing some with my wife. I'm like, hey, check this out. This is so interesting. So I know this took just a massive amount of research and time on your part. So thanks for carving out some to join us here. If you are new to this, make sure you hit subscribe because we have some interviews coming up. In fact, Friday morning, a UK scholar, Richard Bauckham, is going to come on and talk about the evidence for Jesus and the eyewitnesses. And it's 9 in the morning because that's 5 o'clock in Britain. And he makes one of the most powerful cases that the biblical writers in the New Testament, the Gospels in particular, are eyewitnesses. So believer or skeptic, would love to have you join us. And this channel is brought to you by Biola Apologetics. So if you're interested in getting a certificate program, to have somebody walk through formally with you how to study apologetics, and part of it we have theology on angels and demons, etc. Or if you thought, you know what, I'm interested in getting a master's, take a look at the description below. We would love to help partner with you to train you for your own understanding, if you want to be a writer, for your church, for your studies, to really learn and know apologetics better. Thanks so much for joining us. I hope as many of you as possible can join us Friday morning with Richard Bauckham on, another one of my favorite scholars. But again, Dr. Michael Heiser, can't thank you enough for coming on. Don't disappear. I want to thank you personally. But to the rest of you, we will see you very, very soon. Thanks for joining us.